Hello. This is going to be an update to my last video, which was explaining why defense is better than power output, along with the response video, I guess you could call it, that I linked in the comments about the same subject, where I provide a better visual about what power output does, and I just sort of go over things that I felt like I missed. And in both of these videos, I falsely stated that the defense stat on the shield didn't affect block efficiency. And I was partially incorrect about that. I was half right, half wrong, and I'll get into that. So just to cover what the shield says it does, it's sprint cost, push cost, and dodge distance. Push cost is going to be the most noticeable benefit to a higher defense score, but the block efficiency is probably more important than the push cost, at least on this weapon. So I'll get into what it actually affects here. So I have a shield with 80 defense. And I'll go ahead and wait for an overhead here. Here we go. We get down to about 65% stamina. So we can go ahead and swap, just for illustration purposes, a 1% defense. Remember, we were at 65% an overhead. Now we're down to 25%. So that's a pretty big jump, but we're mainly worried about difference between 80 and 60. So I'll go ahead and try that out now. And we're down to 55, so about 10% more. Something I would like to cover, and the reason that I did test this before I made those last videos, but I tested them, I guess, wrongly on ranged weapon or ranged enemies. And from all of the testing that I've done now, as you can see, it goes down to 92 on a burst. 95 with 2 shots. Okay, there we go, 92. So 95 with 95 with 2 shots, 92% with 3 shots. That's with 60%. We can go ahead and go to 0. And we'll see the same sort of numbers. I tested this on every ranged enemy that I can pretty much think of, and it really doesn't seem to affect it at all. It only seems to be melee enemies. I think the biggest discrepancy here is going to be between like a crusher and a mauler. We can go ahead and go to 80 and 80%. So you can try a sniper too, actually, but it shouldn't affect it. So 62% on a shot on 80, go to 0. And 62%. So unless my Psychanium is bugged or something, it really just does not seem to care about ranged enemies. It's only melee enemies. So I can try something again. So 62 on 0 defense, put 20% block efficiency, the perk on the weapon. And we should see a benefit. 70. So 8% increase. We can go ahead and put on Last Guard, which is an additional 30%. And now we're at 79 compared to 62. So for a blessing and a perk, they affect ranged, and the defense perk just doesn't, from what I can test. So I think that's maybe just either an oversight on Fat Shark's end, for this particular weapon, or it's something they intended, maybe. I'm not too sure. But it also, the defense stat on the shield will also be affected by boss attacks, melee boss attacks. We can go ahead and try a crusher overhead. We just get our toughness broken with a 0 defense, so we'll go to a 60. And we get down to 9. Ooh, okay. Get up to an 81. Come on. And he really does not want to overhead me. Come on, buddy. There we go. We get down to 30. So 30% stamina on an 80% defense shield, and 9% on a 60%. defense shield. And again, on the first video, but I think mainly the second video, I try to illustrate the best that I can with why I think that 80% power output virtually has no effect or no like beneficial effect on pretty much most of the gameplay. I mean, at least in my opinion, I think that the benefits are just so minimal and so inconsequential that I'll pretty much take anything over more power output, in my opinion. And I think that the lower push cost, because I mean, you are pushing on this class, and like I said before, I think stamina and toughness are the lifeblood of staying alive in this game, and that's the most important thing you can really do in this game. I don't think RB has a lot of stamina problems, but I think boosting up, even if it's just the melee block efficiency, I think any more efficiency on block, especially with this weapon, is just so nice. I mean, if you're getting hit in melee by a boss or get clipped by a crusher or mauler, the more stamina you save from that melee block means you have more stamina if you're getting shot from ranged, right? Even though it might not directly affect ranged blocking in a vacuum, I think in a dynamic game where you're probably going to get hit in melee if you're blocking for an extended period of time, whatever's on you, that the more stamina you can sort of reserve from those melee hits to then block potential range threats is more important than a marginal increase. I think it's marginal. I don't think the enemies in a larger angle or a larger range matter as much, being affected by your special. So again, if I'm wrong, if you prefer that increase in your special over block efficiency on melee enemies, as well as lower push cost, then so be it. Go ahead. But I think this just makes defense even better. And I didn't know that in those first two videos, because I did test them on ranged enemies, and I thought, oh, okay. If it increased block efficiency, it would work on ranged enemies, and it didn't. So I was like, okay, it doesn't affect that. But yeah, apparently on melee enemies it does. The more you know.